Hello, welcome back to another episode of ILTV. I'm your host, Lynn Ferrari, and today I am joined by one of our longtime correspondents, Jessica Ramesh. Jessica is a single woman living her best life in Panama. I actually met Jessica for the first time about 8 years ago now at an International Living Fast Track Panama conference, and I remember it so well. We were at the VIP drinks reception in the Panama Canal, and I tried ceviche for the first time. But I remember after speaking to Jessica, I thought, wow, this woman loves her life in Panama, and that is still true today. Jessica has some history of Panama. She lived there as a child before moving back to the US, and then again as a teenager before moving back to the US. But Panama always called her back. She then worked on cruise ships for many years, visiting all beautiful places around the globe. But she wanted more, and Panama seemed to tick all of the boxes for her on her checklist. She wanted good weather, she wanted to live in a cosmopolitan city near the beaches and the mountains, and she wanted a place where she had a low cost of living, where she could also fulfill her lifelong dream of writing. Now she is very much living her best life. She moved recently to the coastal location of Coronado in Panama and bought her own beautiful property. It's a stunning apartment that sits on a golf course with the most beautiful views of the sea. It is to die for. Jessica decided many years ago that she wanted to put life first. It was a risky move, but it paid off. So I do hope you enjoy the episode. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We always really appreciate it. And you can find links below where you can find more of Jessica's writings and also more on international living. And if you're interested, you can sign up for our daily postcards where we explore these ideas and lots more. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Jessica Ramesh, welcome to ILTV. How are you?
I'm good, good. A little tired coming back from the Panama event, but it went great, so I'm fantastic.
Oh, that's good to hear. So, right, it was over the weekend. So, we had our International Living Fast Track Panama conference, full house. So lots of happy attendees.
Yes, absolutely. A great group, and we had a really wonderful time.
Oh, well, that's really good to hear. That's great. Well, I'm sorry that you're so tired, but thank you for coming on to talk to me today. It's always lovely getting to talk to you. And yeah, you don't seem too tired. You seem full of life as always, which is great.
Maybe I got some good energy from all those attendees, enthusiastic attendees.
Yeah, feeding off their energy. Absolutely. Okay, so we'll jump into it. So, Jessica, you live in Panama, beautiful Panama. But before we get to that, tell me a bit about your backstory. I guess where did this whole journey start for you? And yeah, how did you end up living in Panama?
Well, I grew up in Oregon hearing my mom talk about Panama. I'd been born in Panama, which is just luck, so lucky. But I was very, very tiny when my parents took me to the States. So I didn't remember anything about Panama. And my parents being Indian, we didn't speak Spanish at home or anything. I didn't have any Panamanian cousins or anything. But my mother had such fond memories of her time in Panama that I would hear her talking about it and think, I hope I get to see this country one day. I've got to go down and see Panama. Fast forward, my family moved to India. We lived there for a little while. And then we ended up moving to Panama when I was a teenager. And I stayed in Panama for a few years before going back to the States. So that was my first taste of life in Panama, my first attempt at learning Spanish, all that good stuff. And I wanted to go back. So, had a lot of jobs in the interim, but when I was working on Carnival Cruise Lines on ships, my mind kept going back to, okay, all of these ports of call, all of these beach towns are gorgeous. I could definitely live in Mexico, but my mind kept going back to Panama as my first choice. So I really knew that I wanted to get back to Panama and see if I could make a living there and maybe have a better lifestyle.
And what was the draw for Panama for your parents?
Oh, well, my mother and father were part of the great Indian refugee diaspora that so many displaced people on both sides of the border when Pakistan was created. My parents were Hindus on the Pakistani side, and so they were very, very young when that happened, but their families were displaced like so many others, and they had to find new homes. And my grandfather visited Panama for the first time in like 1950. So we have a long connection with this country.
And it was obviously, clearly very opening. Opened its doors to you guys, which is says a lot for the country that it is. I guess for expats moving there.
And it has been for so many years. This has been a place that welcomes people from all over the world, which means that we have a really cool international scene in Panama City, but also outside of Panama City and the rest of the country.
Right. And so you mentioned cruise ships. Wow, it sounds like such an interesting job. Tell me a bit about that. Great way to see the world.
It's a fantastic way to see the world. It's one of those jobs that sounds more glamorous than it is. The fact of the matter is you typically don't get any days off at all, and you're working for 6 to 11 months depending on what you can afford to do because your vacations are unpaid and all of that without a day off. So it's a
Intense.
wonderful way. Yeah, it's a great way to see the world, but you run the risk of burning out. And after 4 years, I knew that I just didn't want to work that hard. I didn't want to work 70 plus hour weeks. And I wanted to stop and smell the roses, man. Have a good lifestyle, have fun, and just not have to worry as much about money.
Yeah, and so many people, I guess, stick to a job because it looks good on paper or because the money, etc. But you took a risk, I guess, leaving all that behind you. But it must have been hard to make that decision.
It was scary. And let's just acknowledge that it is scary for anybody changing careers, changing countries, one or both of them. Um, and I was lucky in that Carnival allowed me to take a leave of absence, so that at least gave me a little leeway and meant that I could return to my job if things didn't work out in Panama. If you have a good relationship with your company, with your boss, then sometimes you can wrangle something like that. And so that gave me some time to come to Panama. I had no money. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I want to get back into writing. I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. But I just came down to see and pounded the pavement and talked to people and looked for opportunities in person and online. And that's how I ended up finding international living.
And so you said you wanted to get back to writing. Was writing always your passion? That it's something that you wanted to do then for a career as well?
It was, we were quite a bookish family. My father was a poet, a writer,
Oh, wow.
voracious reader. And so I guess I get that from
I
him.
get
I had
now
worked.
I know where you get it from. Yeah.
Yeah, I had worked as a writer for a year before going to work with Carnival. So, um, yeah, just wanted to get back into it. And when I saw that International Living was hiring, I thought any position, anything that gets me in the door. And they were hiring for an assistant editor. And I thought, okay, let me start there.
Yeah, and so before we get to that, tell me a bit about that time when you moved back to when you moved back to Panama. What did life look like at the time?
It was a really interesting time. It was and it still is growing, but its economy was growing faster than almost any other economy in the world. I think in 2007, it was second only to China. I came back in 2005 and started with IL in '06. So we were just heading into this major construction boom. And so it felt like the most exciting, energizing place to be. Everywhere I looked, things were happening. Interestingly, in countries like Spain, unemployment was astronomical. So we were getting this influx of this just really young, vibrant, hardworking people. And so it wasn't just retirees turning and looking at Panama and going, huh. It was also all of these other people of different ages from different backgrounds. So I was making friends with people from France and Spain and just working hard and traveling around the country. And there was energy. Everywhere you looked, there were things happening.
Yeah, I've been to Panama once for one of our conferences, and that's actually a great way to describe it. Energy. That's exactly how I felt when I was there.
Yeah,
And so I know we've talked about this before, but you dabbled in teaching English as well, right? When you got to Panama at first.
I did. I did. I couldn't afford to be without an income. So I remember just sitting down and talking to a friend, a new friend, who was in the expat community and was a teacher. And she said, well, while you're looking, why don't you just teach English? And I was like, okay. And I had been a TA for Spanish at University of Richmond, where I went to college in the States. And so I thought, well, how different could it be?
Switch
I'll
it.
just teach, yeah, English as a second language to Panamanians. And that was incredibly fun, rewarding work. I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do full time. But for Panama, earning $15, $20 an hour at the time was more than enough to support yourself, pay your rent, like the whole deal. So, I wasn't living luxuriously, but I had enough to pay my bills and to go out a little bit and then just kind of figure out what I wanted to do, get to interviews because it was pretty flexible.
Yeah, we talk about teaching English in our file a lot to our postcard
We do.
readers. It's such an interesting way if you like someone like you who had Spanish as well, so you were able to have that two-way conversation. But it was a great bridge for you, I guess, to then be able to earn some money while going after your dreams of writing. And so you
It's
took a
such a
leap
good fallback.
to sorry, you took a leap to jump into the life that you love. We're talking about there how writing was your passion. That's what you wanted to do. So, like, what were some of the things that you had to what was your checklist in terms of like figuring out what you wanted to do? Was it a case that like you always knew you wanted to write, or what were some of the things that you asked yourself that might be helpful to people watching this?
You, I wonder if I think a lot of people can probably relate to this. Some young people know exactly what they want to do, high school, college. They don't have trouble choosing a high school, choosing a university. Here in Panama, you have to know before high school because some high schools focus more on science and literary arts and some are more businessy. I had no clue. I knew that I was really interested in writing. I didn't know exactly what I liked the idea of maybe going into academia. Now I understand that all of it was centered around communication. If I was good at writing and I was good at language, I was learning French, Italian, Portuguese, you name it. I took the class, German, I tried to learn everything. And if I was good at these different things, I realized much, much later in my life that it all boils down to communication. If you enjoy communicating, you're probably going to be good in these different areas. But I also wanted to travel the world and I wasn't wealthy. And I thought, how am I going to get to, I was a big Europhile. How am I going to get to Europe? How am I going to see all these places? So I was constantly looking for things that would allow me to travel. After 4 years on ships, then that wasn't the first priority anymore. So then it just became, okay, where can I live a good cosmopolitan lifestyle near the water and also be able to write for a living and make a living and not have to work too hard to make that living?
Right, to get that balance. And you said Cosmopolitan there. That's yeah, like I always felt the minute I landed in Panama and I was driving into the city, it was like, am I in Miami? Like what? It's like such a shock. It's so cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
And so you had a checklist, obviously you wanted warm weather. So what are all those big, I guess, things that are on your hit list in terms of a country profile that you were looking for?
Yeah, interestingly enough, on the not so romantic and exciting side of things, potable water was kind of one of the things that helped me decide between Mexico and Panama. And then the economy, the US dollar, just not having to fuss with exchange rates or anything like that. But really, it was, life in Panama City, you've got such a variety. And I hate to admit to this, but I'm easily bored. So, some of
What?
these other island nations that I'd fallen in love with maybe didn't have enough going on to keep me from getting bored. Whereas in Panama City, I had Jazz Fest and so many film festivals, I couldn't even count them. And now it's just beyond. We had live music. We had, people really into fitness and athletics. So you had bikers in Panama and aerobics and Zumba and Pilates and all this other stuff. So whether you were interested in outdoor activities, Harley, I went skydiving, whatever it is, except for snow skiing, we like to say.
Yeah.
I had access to it in Panama. And then I was in Panama City. I was close to beaches and islands. So if I wanted to go water skiing or camping or hiking in the mountains, that was really easy and affordable to do
Right.
as well. If I wanted to get back to a Caribbean beach, because Caribbean beaches are always going to be a part of my life now, I could just drive up to the Cologne province or hop up 1 hour flight to Bocas del Toro for $250. Like, it was affordable. I could do it.
And it's all on your doorstep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what's it like living in Panama as a single woman?
So, Panama City and where I live now, the beach town of Coronado, are sort of hub towns, much more so in Panama City. But I knew that if I left the city, I was going to want to live somewhere, just a little hub where all the action is, where I could easily get to activities with friends, supermarkets, maybe a movie theater, restaurants. It's really, and when you're part of an expat community, as I am here in the beach town of Coronado, it's such a welcoming place. There's so many other expats. There's so many other single expats that it's easy to meet people. I moved into a building that's incredibly social. We have a social hour. If you want to join, 5 p.m. on Tuesdays, you take your drink up to the rooftop and you meet people, you socialize, you end up knowing your neighbors, which was amazing to me. I was like, what? Everybody knows their neighbors here. That's fantastic. That doesn't always happen in a big city. And then the town is just an extension of that. So I'm part of a community now. I haven't had a single lonely day since I got here. If I wanted to be out doing something, there was a group that I could go and do it with. It took no time at all to get settled in that way.
And what about your neighbors where you are? Are they expats? Are they local? Are they a mix?
It's a fun mix. I have some Panamanian friends who have homes here, so I see them. My building has a lot of retiree expats. I have a group of friends that I call my first ladies, the first ladies that started answering my questions before I
Love
moved
that.
to the building. They're amazing. So there's 4 ladies, 3 that I met at first and 1 that we added because she's just awesome. And we get together every once in a while. I have them over for happy hours or Indian tea in my apartment, or we go
Oh,
out to have a nice, lovely lunch, a boozy lunch with wine. And I've made friends with a couple that's closer in age to me. There's even a couple Indians in my building. So there's an Indian family that brings me food, Indian
is
food.
there? Wow,
Yeah,
so
yep.
lovely.
I feel so lucky. It's
God,
very
doesn't
diverse.
anyone that would bring me food, like that's a dream,
Yeah,
dream to me to do. Yeah.
imagine. And South Indian food, which is harder to find.
Oh, nice. And so you're now at Coronado. You moved from Panama City. Was it last year?
Yeah, early last year, so going on a year now.
And you bought your own property there. So tell me a bit about that process. What was it like?
The, the process was long and frustrating, but what you get in exchange is so amazing that how could you not be patient if things take weeks or even months? In my case, I was getting a loan, so that made everything take a little bit longer. But what you're able to get here in Panama for the price is just so unbelievable that I kept telling myself, I'm not going to get upset if it takes a week longer than they told me, or a month longer than they told me, or 3 months even. I mean, I'm living in an apartment on the 20th floor of a tower on a golf course. I'm surrounded by greenery. I have an ocean view. Just beyond the golf course is the beach. I can see all down the coastline. I can see the Campana National Park, the mountain. I love the mountains in Panama, and I thought about living in the mountains. And then I thought, it's a little too wet for me. I'd rather live in a drier region of Panama, but from here I still get to see my mountains. So I got
I'm
everything
going to
that I
insert
wanted.
a couple of pictures of your view because it's incredible. So I'll insert them here for everyone to see.
Yeah, it's too bright right now for me to show you here, so do.
What a
And
good problem to have. Yeah. Too bright.
it's
Lovely.
you're in Ireland. I'm sorry. But I paid, for my apartment $155,000. It's just over 1,000 square feet. One large bedroom, large master bath, a fairly large powder room, and then the rest of it is just one, what I call the great room. And I'm in this building that has amazing amenities. My monthly maintenance is $262 a month. We have 2 pools, one of which is enormous. Downstairs, we have the ginormous pool and then a big area where we can socialize. We have tables, we do potluck there sometimes. There's a barbecue. You can get together for events. There's a basketball hoop off to the side, and there's the entry to the golf course if you want to go golfing. Some people walk on the golf course early in the morning. Then on the upper levels, we've got 3 levels of social areas. So we have a rooftop where you have 360-degree views of all of Coronado and amazing breezes and some small little jacuzzi type pools. Then we have a games room and a sauna. We have another pool and social area where we sometimes have gatherings Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Whoever wants to goes up for the social hour. We have a party room that's air conditioned when we want to be in air conditioning. I just couldn't
They
have
thought of
asked.
everything.
Yeah. Lots of
Oh God.
avid golfers and just fitness health nuts in this building because it's so easy.
I can imagine. Do you play any golf yourself?
People keep asking me, and I'm like, nope, never going to play golf. Absolutely no intention. But it's so green and it's so quiet that it's actually the perfect community for me. And there's a group of golfers. There are several groups of golfers, but the women's group of golfers call themselves Chicks with Sticks. And
I
yeah,
love it.
they have a great time.
I love that. I love that. And so, tell me a bit about, so you moved from Panama City. What was like, did you get a van to help you move all your stuff, or how did you do that?
Right. So you have all those options, and I definitely had friends that offered to help, but I had been living in a large apartment for 17 years, and I was like, I need professional help. I'm not doing this on my own. I'm not saddling my friends with any part of this time around. So I actually went with a semi full service company, one that will come in and help you pack your larger items, and they'll help you like pack up other stuff as well, your kitchen and whatnot. They'll pack about, 40 to 60% of your stuff for you. They'll give you like 2-3 days. And it was wonderful. They helped me get everything packed. I had helpers on 2 different days. It made the whole thing just seem not overwhelming. Whereas if I'd tried to tackle that by myself, I think I would have sat down and cried at the amount of
Yeah.
stuff I still had. And I got rid of so much because I was downsizing, and I'm so glad that I did. Like, cleaning now is brilliant. I'm laughing. Every time I sweep and mop, I'm still not over this. I'm still laughing when I sweep and mop because it takes me 10 minutes
It's
as
those little
opposed to,
things you
yeah.
don't think of. Yeah. And so what was the price of the movers?
It was between $600 and $900, and I'm a little ashamed that I don't remember the exact amount. But I remember thinking, "God, I have no
Worth
idea
it.
what they're charging nowadays, but it's worth it to me." And I thought, will it be $1,000? Will it be $1,500? I think I'm going to pay it either way because it's really worth it to me. But it was less, and I was really super happy with the service, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah, that's good advice for people moving. I guess cross country. I mean, I moved even in Ireland last year around the same time as you, and we got movers as well. And like that, I just thought it was worth every penny. I mean, to take some of that stress, because it's stressful moving, home or place. So anything you can do to alleviate some of that stress,
Yeah,
definitely worth it, definitely. And so
absolutely.
what were some of the driving factors that you found moving? Like what made you go to Coronado from Panama City? Because I know you loved Panama City so much.
I do. I still consider it my city. It'll always be my city. And I'm still close to it. When there's no traffic, the drive really is just an hour. Now we're in for some growing pains, so it's going to be closer to 2 hours for a long time now, while they finish some construction and the third line of the metro and work on 2 bridges over the Panama Canal and then possibly a new bridge. So I still have access to the city. I'm still going to see friends now and again, and they come up to see me, which is fantastic. But I always thought, someday I'll want to maybe retire somewhere else. The city will get to be, it'll be sort of like, been there, done that. And I could now get away from a little bit of the noise and the traffic and just, live somewhere quieter. I thought that was years away still. the pandemic, however, I didn't have a balcony. I didn't have any outdoor common space. I had a large, spacious apartment and pretty trees and hummingbirds just in front and whatnot. But I really did need my own outdoor space. And so I started looking at apartments in Panama City with balconies or common areas, outdoor spaces. And I found one that I loved. And the day before my loan got approved, I was this close to buying it. The lady raised the price by $30,000. This type of
What?
thing happens sometimes. Yep. And
That's
so
not like
that's
five
no,
like $1,000. It's $30,000.
yeah, from 145 to 180 something. And so I thought, okay, I loved that apartment. It was in a great part of town, very central, right at the tree line, green all around you, and already built. So no new buildings were going to come up and obscure, your view or cut down trees or anything. But in any case, that didn't work out. And I one day was searching again, and I decided just to, on a whim, extend my search to see all of Panama. I want at least 1.5 bathrooms, at least 1,000 square feet. Let's see, at least a balcony or some sort of outdoor space. Let's see. And there was this one apartment in Coronado that looked nice. There weren't any pictures of the view. It just looked like a nice apartment layout. And the description was poorly written. Sometimes those are the best ones. And
Yeah.
I was headed up for the weekend to visit some friends. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to be in the area. Can I see this apartment? And the realtor, amazing, got back to me. They don't always get back to you. And she was gung ho. And she said, yeah, and I have all these other apartments to show you in the neighboring towns, Gorgona, whatever. And I was like, hold up. I'm single. If I'm going to move, it's going to be to the hub. So I'm only willing to see apartments in Coronado. Those other spots, they can be great for couples, but for me as a single, I knew I wanted to be in the hub.
Right.
So she brought me to this building, and I saw an apartment on the 7th floor, and it was, all the greenery from the golf course, and then a little sliver of blue of the ocean. Very pretty. I thought I could live here. The layout feels good. The price is good. And the price, they quoted me a higher price. It was like $169, they had told me. Then she says, I have a few others in this building. She takes me to the 10th floor. You can see a little bit more of the ocean. Usually I don't care what floor I'm on, but in this case, it made a difference to the view. And I thought, okay, 10th floor, good. And then she says, let me take you. I have one on the 20th floor. And I'm like, hold on. How much more money is that going to be? We're already at the top of my budget. Same price. And I can see everything. I can see the beach all the way down to neighboring Gorgona. And they had a few units left. I got lucky. And they just wanted to sell them all at same price per square foot, no matter which one you bought. Wow. And then they said, oh, and we misquoted the price to you. It's only 105 square meters, which is over 1,000 square feet. And so your price would be $157.5. And then they said, but we're not going to give you the appliances. So we'll give you an additional $2,500 off. So the price dropped, and then it dropped again. And I hadn't even gotten a chance to ask for a discount, which I absolutely would have done as an Indian. I didn't have to.
That is incredible.
And then they didn't bother to update the contract. You got to love Latin America. Some of this works in your favor. They didn't bother to update the contract. So then they had to give me the appliances anyways.
You're joking me.
Nope.
It all fell in line for you. Absolutely meant to be. I don't know if it was luck or it's meant to be. You're meant to be in that apartment, Jessica.
It feels like it.
Yeah, no, it sounds absolutely amazing. And so you'd bought furniture, etc. in Panama City. You had all your stuff that you're moving, but even in terms of buying, furnishing your apartment, has that been easy? Did you buy anything new when you moved to Coronado, or can you get everything that you want there, or do you import stuff?
Super easy. I had some pieces that I knew were too large, weren't going to fit in this apartment. So I knew moving into this apartment and downsizing that I was going to have some furniture that worked, but that I was going to need some new furniture. I had a really gorgeous dining table that was like a massive tree trunk that they had sliced through and created a live edge table with like knots, like natural knots and spaces in the middle. It's a work of art. And it was killing me to get rid of it, but it was just too big for the space. I thought about selling it, but then I thought, this building has some social areas where it would look beautiful. And I asked the board, would you be willing to accept a donation? I can still see and enjoy my furniture, and I'll donate it to the building and other
Oh,
people
great
can enjoy
idea.
it. They were so happy. And so I donated 2 Adirondack chairs and a live edge coffee table for one of the balconies in the social areas. And my beautiful big table went into the party room. So I still get to
Oh,
visit
I
my
love
furniture.
that.
They just revarnished them all too. Like they're taking such good care of them. And then I needed a living room set, like a couch and a couple armchairs. Thought I would have to go into Panama City and kind of look through all the stores. And if I didn't find what I wanted, maybe order through Amazon and have it shipped down. But I went to a store right here in the beach area and found my dream furniture. Beautiful wood and cane furniture, exactly what I've always wanted since I was a little girl, salivating at the windows of Bombay and Co. I don't know if you remember that
I
furniture
don't remember
store,
that. No.
but it was very sort of British Raj elegance.
Right.
I thought I'll never have anything like this. And I don't know, maybe you can see
I
one of
do.
our
I can see it. It's
behind me.
gorgeous. Yeah, I can see the cane. It's beautiful. So you
It's
got that
just my
locally.
taste. I bought that at a place called Bali House at the beach, and it turns out the owner, the guy's, many generations here in Panama, but he's also Indian. So I bought a bunch of stuff from him and got my discounts.
God, it sounds great. So what other differences have you found living in Coronado as opposed to Panama? Like obviously, the obvious stuff, but is there anything else that's been surprising?
I knew that we know, right? Seeing greenery, seeing the blues every day, it impacts your well-being in a measurable way. So I knew that being able to see that from my window, and in Panama City, I did. I started every day by driving to the Cinta Costera, which is a massive promenade and recreation area along the bay. So I would start my days walking along the ocean, surrounded by greenery, and my well-being was already very good. But here I'm sitting at this desk where you see me now typing, and I glance over and I see that greenery. It's just all day. So it's amazing. My well-being has gone from here to I don't know where it is now. I'm just smiling like an idiot all the time.
I love that.
And then, being part of a community, I knew that that was going to be different here. I've visited Coronado so many times and I've written so much about it, but that has been just incredibly rewarding. In Panama City, I had a really wonderful social group. I had several social groups, but everybody had their lives, and it wasn't so much one community as my being part of different groups. Here I am part of a community. I have neighbors I can call. The other day, one of the ladies on our group Facebook page or one of the WhatsApp chats was like, I need 4 potatoes and I don't have time to run out to the store. If I need 4 potatoes, I can just ask. And somebody in the building gave her 4 potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
If
That's how I remember neighbors when I was growing up. That's how I remember my parents' neighbors, that like you'd come in with some sugar, you'd call into the next door neighbor to get some sugar or some milk. You don't really see that anymore. Yeah.
you don't really see that anymore. And I think in big cities, it's even less common. And here, I feel like no matter what I need, I feel like here somebody's going to help me, if not two, three, four, or five people.
Yeah, it must have been so nice integrating into a community like that. It made it, a lot easier to integrate.
It's made a huge difference. I feel
Yeah.
even more supported and safe and happy.
And so, what does a typical day look like for Jessica in Coronado?
Ah, a typical day. Well, I'm not here all the time. I'm traveling for work and conferences and all that good stuff. But when I am here, typical day, I'll get up and get breakfast for my two monsters, my two fanged monsters.
Not
And
monsters, cats, in case anyone's genuinely worried.
and I don't have breakfast on my balcony because I get blasted by the sun till about 12:30. So I keep the shades down and work a little bit, and then right around 12:30 the shades go up so that I can enjoy my view for the rest of the day, water my plants on my balcony, do a bit more work. Very often around 4 or 5, it's time to have a little drink on the balcony. That's a nice break in the middle of the day. I might go up to the gym in the building to have a little workout, or I might go up to the social area to socialize a bit with some people from the building, especially if it's a Tuesday. And then we have a lot of really great restaurants in Coronado, and I've made some friends here. And so I might go for Italian or Thai food, or we have an Asian fusion place, a French place that's very good. So a lot of times I'll be having dinner out a couple times a week. And sometimes there's live music as well. So we might stay on for a bit after dinner enjoying live music. And then I'm usually home pretty early. We tend to go out earlier here and then get home earlier, which I like. It really agrees with me because in my bedroom, I leave my curtains open and I wake up to the sun just rising right in my face, like, hello, good morning. I love it.
Yeah, I'm definitely a up early, bed early person too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
I've
so,
always been a night owl, but
yeah,
Coronado's changing that for me.
I was too. When I was in college, I used to do like all my good work at the night, like in the evening, or
Yeah.
even after college. My first couple of jobs, I'd always come alive at night. But the older I get, I'm like, I'm in bed by like 9 most nights.
Yeah, it's nice. It's
It's
really
lovely.
nice.
Yeah, it is lovely. And so you get to travel for a living with IL, which is amazing. Any fun trips planned coming up?
Lots this year. Last year was my first year getting back to travel. And for me, because I have traveled so much, I really needed that break to get excited about travel again. So last year was really fun and exciting. I got to see you. We had meetings in Ireland. That was absolutely wonderful. And I'd never done it before, the direct flight to Panama from Amsterdam after I left Dublin. So that was really fun to try out. I think I prefer shorter flights, but
Yeah, it's a long, long flight. Yeah.
yeah. But we have the option for people who
Yeah.
don't like changing planes.
Hmm.
And bypassing the US, sometimes it can be a little bit easier. Going through customs and immigration here in Panama is so quick and easy. And this year, I might be going somewhere in the Caribbean. We'll see. We'll get that
Ooh.
finalized and I'll be writing about it. I was thinking of planning a trip with some friends to Argentina. Don't know if that's going to crystallize this year. We shall see. But, the flight can be a little pricey, but once you get there, it's so inexpensive
Hmm.
that you're not spending much on hotels and whatnot. So that makes up for it. So that's a good option. I'll be doing some tours here in Panama, some editorial trips around the Chiriquí province, around the Azuero Peninsula, and I'm so excited to get back there and check out. There's a lot of buzz in the Azuero Peninsula south of Petasi, which we've written about quite a bit. So I'll be focusing on some different areas this time. We'll see.
Really busy schedule. I'm like, when are you going to fit all of that in? I love it. And so, Jessica, I love your story. You are living in beautiful Panama. You decided all those years ago you were going to put life first. You're writing and traveling for a living. You're independently wealthy, own your own home. I just think that, like, when you did make that decision to put life first, and it may seem pretty scary at the time, it definitely paid off for you. And putting that life, I think a lot of us these days are deciding that we are going to put life first, and we're not going to be around forever, and we need that balance in our lives. And the one thing that came out of COVID, I think, was bringing that to the forefront for us. But yeah, I feel like for you, it's an inspiration that it can work out, right? And I know we've talked about this before, that like, and even if it doesn't, so what? You can go back to Panama City, or go, you can move on to somewhere else.
Exactly. This apartment and this view, I just know if I ever want to rent it out or sell it and move to Panama City or somewhere else, it's a big wide world out there, that I absolutely can do that. And, I don't know that any of my friends in the States would agree seeing my bank balance, whether I'm independently wealthy or not, but I do feel wealthy in just the life that I'm living, and having a job that I love and that doesn't feel like work. I feel like I often joke that I'm already living my dream retirement life. Like, I'm living it now.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And so I'm just wondering, as a very well traveled woman, What is the one item that you couldn't travel without? Give our listeners some insights into a tip here from Jessica Ramesh.
Earplugs.
Earplugs. Yes, good
Earplugs.
one.
As long as I have those, I'm good. Whether it's just sometimes to block out the white noise on planes or you're in, hotels, sometimes even the nicest hotels, there's this thrumming noise that you get from the air conditioning or from music somewhere. And if you're sensitive to sound like I am, earplugs, and I should probably get some noise canceling headphones, but earplugs.
Earplugs. I need that. I actually never travel with earplugs. I'm one of those people though that like the minute I hit a plane, I'm gone. I'm asleep. Like or
You're so lucky.
yeah. But that is a good one. My husband sleeps with earplugs all the time. Maybe I snore. I don't know. Okay.
Blessed are those who can sleep.
Yeah, exactly. It's my superpower. Yeah. So I'm going to finish off all these interviews with a this or that. So quick fire round, just say the first thing that comes to your head. Okay. So I'm going to give you two options and you tell me. So just to get a little insight into who Jessica is, right? So, okay. Sort by price or sort by rating?
Oh, rating. Whether it's a restaurant or a hotel, rating.
Yeah. Well, I already know the answer to this. Night or morning?
I'm becoming more of a morning person. I'm in the middle of those right now, but let's say morning. I really enjoy the early morning hours. They're beautiful.
It's shifting. And so would you rather forget to pack your underwear when traveling or the correct shoes?
Oh, I have forgotten to pack. I would prefer to forget my underwear, and I have forgotten. The times I was working on ships, and my underwear drawer was like, we had these teeny tiny little bunk beds. If you're a crew member, you know what that's like. And you had a drawer underneath your bunk bed that I used for my underwear, and I just forgot to unpack that drawer. My suitcase was up against it. Got to my best friend's house, who's a guy, and looked at him and said, "We're gonna have to go to a Victoria's Secret or something because I have no underwear." But that's easier to replace than shoes.
It is. Definitely.
Always.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Oh, well, Jessica, look, thank you so much for joining me. It's been absolutely great. So where can people find you online? Where can people go read your writing or your articles or about your travels?
Oh, okay. Well, absolutely at internationalliving.com. You get all my best stuff there. And you can find my short stories at Wanderlust, blogspot or something.com. Maybe if you Google my name with Wanderlust, it'll come up. And, but the main thing is International Living. You can always find me there.
Excellent. Well, look, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure speaking to you, and go enjoy that beautiful view. I'm very jealous, and hopefully I'll get to see you very soon.
I hope so. Thank you, Lynn.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there you have it, another episode of ILTV. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below, turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos, and join me for next week's episode.